The views and opinions expressed on the Cap are those of the hosts. They do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of OldMilk Media. Any opinions stated aren't intended to offend anyone. On this episode of the Cap Podcast, we react to One of Wun by Gunna. Welcome back. This is episode 506 of your critical but accurate tour through hip hop, the Cap Podcast. We are your tour guides. I am Nate Sperlin. That is Taylor McLeod. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you might be tuning in. Feel free to go ahead and join the conversation by leaving a comment and liking this video and subscribing to the channel. That being said, Taylor, how are you doing today?
I'm good. As you know, my California weather reports are going to be coming to an end at some point soon. So, I'm enjoying the end of this right now. So I'm doing good.
Good. Another thing coming to the end is, unfortunately, the team that's on your hat, the Oakland A's. Unfortunately, save the A's.
I mean, the A's are still going to be a team.
Oh, well, I'm not going to call them the A's. I'm going to call them the Las Vegas Losers or something.
The L's.
Yeah, the Las Vegas L's. That's what I'm going to call them. Moving the team is a giant L.
Honestly,
in the first
I don't
place.
even hate. I don't even hate that. The L's. I should get a custom hat just with the
Just
font,
L's.
the L's.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That would go crazy. Get it in like
cool.
like green and then have the L be yellow, so that everybody knows it's the Oakland A's.
Dude, I have that's my favorite A's hat. It's all green with the yellow. I have it over there. But
no, the A's have some good like uniforms. Like they have like the best socks too. They have like the stirrup socks. Like their stirrup socks are like yellow and green. Like they're the only
it's almost
ones
like
that
they're
have
a
the
storied
multicolored.
It's almost like they're a storied franchise who shouldn't be being treated like they're a throwaway franchise. But
Whoa, wow, that's some
yeah,
free thinking you're doing over there, Taylor. Nobody's ever had
I
that thought
know,
before.
I know,
Like wow.
crazy.
Anyway, I'm gonna have to take some time to digest that and come back to you on that. Anyway, on this episode of the Cat Podcast, we are discussing One of Wun by Gunna. The album is 20 tracks, 57 minutes long, featuring Offset, Normani, Leon Bridges, and Roddy Ricch. Once again, you can join the conversation by leaving a comment below. That being said, Taylor, what did you think about One of Wun?
For a 20-song album to keep it under an hour, I'm not complaining about that. Normally, when we get 20 songs and it's an hour and a half, that's when I'm like, all right, I've had enough of this. But 20 songs under an hour, I can live with that. So that was because that's the first thing I look at every single time. Am I gonna have to split this into 2 listens, or can I sit down all at once and do this? I can sit for an hour. I'm not any longer. I'm not doing it. So like that was my first thought. And coming into this, I didn't really have any expectations for the content of this album necessarily, but I do have expectations for Gunna and his sound and how it changes but stays the same, and kind of how he continues to master his sound and really establish his sound as he's been doing for a long time at this point, but really over the last 3 albums, like cementing that signature Gunna sound. And so after a few listens, like Gunna's getting really good at like being Gunna. You know what I mean? Like, and I think there's something to be said for that. I think there's something to be said for understanding himself as an artist and what his sound is and how to weave different topics and subjects and content throughout that, while also incorporating features, but keeping it so genuinely Gunna. And I can appreciate that a lot. It's not like, I don't think this is a groundbreaking album by any means. But it's good. You know what I mean? And it's one of those albums where I listen to it and I'm like, this is a good album. It doesn't blow my mind, but I certainly didn't come away from it saying like, I don't want to play that again. Like I'm not trying to hear that again.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the one thing that you can say about this is that from top to bottom, it's a pleasant listen. I think the reason why we raved about A Gift and a Curse is because of Gunna having things to say throughout the album. Like the things that he was going through obviously would translate into the music, and that's really what we heard a lot of. So I think because of the substance and also with Gunna still being Gunna, I think that combination together really was the reason why A Gift and a Curse was a successful album. I think the first half of this album, like we're seeing Gunna kind of return back to that brain off like catchy music, which is fine. That's the music that he's known for in the first place. The only thing is that at certain times throughout the album, on certain songs, like it's kind of short, it feels kind of short, and that's where we would expect a feature. And that's the reason why when we talked about it last year, when we talked about Gift and the Curse last year, I was worried if Gunna by himself, basically by himself, would be sustainable because I knew there would be times where he would need a feature and for one reason or another he wouldn't be able to get it from a hip hop act. The only hip hop act here, well, there's two. I was surprised to see Roddy Rich, but I guess Roddy Rich is probably in a different place of his career where he can't afford to be picky. But Offset being here really says something about just like the overall continuity, or excuse me, the overall like feeling about Gunna in hip hop. So I found that to be interesting. But the first half really doesn't move me, it doesn't really move the needle. I like the back half of the album, like from Conscious to Time Reveals, Be Careful What You Wish For, because we get more life updates about Gunna. I'm not really focused, or I'm not really interested in Gunna being catchy. Like I'm like it's confirmed Gunna is one of the catchiest rappers alive. And I don't really need to like as someone who is here to talk about the music, have an opinion on the music. I don't really need him to keep proving that he's catchy. Like people are going to enjoy that. It's already understood that people are going to enjoy that. So I'm more focused on like how he's able to tell his story. So that's really the main reason why the first half of the album doesn't really move the needle for me. I also feel like in the first half, those are the, like I already said, like probably three, four times, those are the catchy tracks. But there isn't like a hit, like a smash hit track within them. Like there isn't a fuck you mean, there isn't even a Rodeo Drive in there or something that I want to like that I know like I'm going to go to this song over and over and over again. I can listen to them all and all of them are fine. They're good, but there's not one that really draws me back. I also think that the tracks that have transitions between each other that kind of link them together, I find those two tracks, the tracks that are linked together, to be more appealing to my ear than the ones that are just by themselves. And again, like there's some of the tracks are really short, so it kind of feels like a fever dream in a way, but at the same time it's like the perfect music, like you said before we started recording. It's like perfect background music for you to just put on. You know that it's not really going to offend anybody, but it's still really good quality music, which gives you an overall sense of how I would describe it, like an overall sense of calm, which I really, really found to be
Yeah.
attractive to about this album.
Yeah, and I guess like personally when I'm on the aux, sometimes I especially because like the majority of what I listen to is hip hop, is rap. So it's like it can be tough to like figure out what to play sometimes. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
when I'm like when I'm with you, I know like all right, we're gonna put Future on and it's gonna be good, right? Because we're gonna enjoy it. But when it's like people and it's like you kind of like you're trying to find that like middle ground, like it's like on a graph, it's like you're trying to find like the line right on the
Yeah,
curve or whatever. It's like this is the perfect like yeah, throw this on like it's just it's like you said it, it's pleasant listening like and I'm not that's the thing. I'm not looking to Gunna to do give me personally, like I'm not looking at Gunna to give me any something besides that. You know what I
hmm,
mean? Like I'm since Gunna came out in 2017, 2018, since he like really, really blew up, then like that's why I'm playing Gunna, is because it's smooth and it's good and it's you throw it on and it's like slick and it's got like glitzy, you know what I mean? It has
hmm,
like these like characteristics to it that's what I really, really want from Gunna. You know, we talk about gift and a curse a lot, and I think it's easy to look at those two together. Or because like that's the last album, and especially when someone like Gunna who drops almost every year, right? Like we went from DS4 to Gift and a Curse to this.
hmm.
Um, Gift and a Curse though is coming off of a much different situation and time than this is showing up. And I know that there was I wouldn't even say speculation. Future said he was dropping a
Yeah,
mixtape, and it seemed like Future and Gunna were gonna go kind of head to head. And we're in this like crazy space right now where we have the two biggest rappers in the world beefing, and then we have two old guys beefing and Rick Ross in game, and then it was like, hang on, and now Future and Gunna, like Shaq and Shannon Sharp, is like,
yeah,
what's happening? You know what I mean? So it's like all these like undercards, right, that you think are gonna happen, but I'm almost like, I would have loved another Future tape, especially after getting, what I would call 2.5 projects from him recently.
hmm,
Um, so I was excited for that, but I'm almost like kind of glad that we just got this Gunna so that you and I can sit here and talk about it and not treat it like another chapter in this like this insane like two
yeah.
and a half month period where
This
everything is
canon
just
event.
like right where it's just things are going crazy. I really like what you said. I think that I like the first section of it because that's like why I'm here for Gunna, right? It's
Yeah,
like you said, those songs that are like, I think One of Wun is probably the song that would be if there was a hit, but it's not like you said, it's not a fuck you mean. It's not they're certainly not, pushing P, and like
yeah.
it's nothing like that. So compared to the last two albums, we don't have that song here. But I think that middle section, probably from like trio to conscious, right? So from like 10 to
15.
14, those five songs in there,
Mm.
15, like those songs really I'm not looking for because I think the first half is like not bangers necessarily, but it's like, all right, Gunna's doing his thing, and then like you said, that last third of it is like, all right, we're getting introspective, we're learning more. Yeah, so I'm finding it hard, difficult to say anything more than just like I enjoyed listening to it because it's not something I'm trying to pick apart. It's not something that I'm trying to get too deep into because it's like, sure, could we go through these songs with a fine tooth comb and find things we like and don't like? And it's of course, right, we can do that
Yeah.
with anything. But for me, the purpose of Gunna's music is like a lot more like it just sets a stage and it just like is like, yep, this is what's going on right now, and it's not too high, not too low. It's and I'm sure some people out there would really not like that because they want, every song they ever hear to move them. But sometimes like I want that like middle ground to go to. That's not like it's not Kendrick and it's not Drake, right? It's
Yeah.
in the middle of that. All the lanes, it just like I said, it just finds that common line.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I do want to point out, and this is probably like the only thing that I'm gonna point out relating to really what is the main story in hip hop, the Kendrick versus Drake or Drake's demise at this point, because I don't see how Drake can come back from Not Like Us. But when on Prevail, when Still Prevail, excuse me, when Gunna says they pay for their abs, there's no way for me, maybe it's because of how recent everything is going on, but the first person I immediately thought of was Drake. So I don't know if there's any other connections that can be made between like Gunna taking shots at Drake, but I was just curious to know what you thought about that line and if you thought it was a
Yeah.
shot at Drake.
I mean, the timing is like we don't know when this was made,
Yeah.
right? So like we I don't know when Still Prevail was made because the thing about Drake in the abs and shit, that's been a thing forever. Like we're probably like a decade into people being like, "Oh, he got surgery." Like it's that's not a new thing. So even if this was made before Rick Ross said, be like the start of the BBL Drizzy and then Kendrick said it again on
BBL Drizzy.
Euphoria, like
BBL
I'm
Drizzy.
sure it's maybe it can like if someone's like, "Oh, that's a shot at Drake," like I don't, there's no grounds to be like, "No, it isn't." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I'm sure based on how hard Gunna's been working, like we've seen, like he posts videos of himself working out, and obviously we've seen like a crazy transformation over the last
Yeah.
couple years. Like he's like Jack now. You know what I
He was
mean? He
he
went
was the
from
poster child for fat jokes like
I
2 years ago.
know. And
Yeah.
now he's like shredded and he looks like a pro athlete and it's like all right cool like yeah so whatever he deserves to take those shots, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, whether it's about Drake or about industry people as a whole or just like people spending money to do stuff and he's doing it the hard way like shit he it seems like he deserves to take that shot at whoever he wants to, especially if other people aren't working as hard as him.
1000%. One thing I do want to point out, relating to one of my previous points, when I said it's like some certain songs feel like they need features on them to like really propel them to the next level. On One Tonight is probably the best example of that. It kind of feels like an interlude to me. It's
Yeah,
like a minute 31 seconds long. There's one verse on it. There's like no hook. It just like it's a good verse, but I just think that there needs to be more there, or at least label it as an interlude if it's going to sound like that. But that's just one gripe that I had throughout. But again, I'm not fully certain if there's anything Gunna could do to really control that because it's based off of like who wants to work with him. And at least based off this track list, we only have two people from the hip hop industry, which is Offset and Roddy Rich. Maybe you could have got another feature from them, but I just found that to be interesting. Another thing, and this is just like an overall commentary on Gunna. I'm not a fan of like the songs where the hook is just like a one syllable word and he just repeats it over and over. Like Treesh
yeah,
is like Treesh, 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 like
yeah,
that.
that's a
That bores
pretty
me.
quick skip for me. Yeah,
Even like what was the other one that went off? Like Surf. Like I wasn't a
yeah,
fan of that. Hot, I wasn't really. Wait, Hot might have like an actual. I
yeah.
there might be. I
It's like
wasn't
the
really a fan of
everything
that
liddy. I love
anyway.
when it's, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Yeah.
but like I'm just not a fan of that type of
Yeah.
Gunna. Like when YG does it, he does it in a way where it's like, okay, like it's usually more than a one syllable in the word anyway.
Yeah.
Um, Like I'm not a fit. Like I don't mind repetitive hooks, like where everybody's singing "not like us, not like us, they not like us, they not like us." Like everybody's singing that right now, but it's just
Yeah.
like when it's just a one syllable thing.
That
It's
has
just
some
I'm just not
bounce
a
to
fan of
it.
it.
Yeah, it has some, and it's also like Stick came out
Yeah,
last year, like the Dreamville album, like that was cool because it's a little more like aggressive and it's not just like Gunna's like too cool almost to like
yeah.
pull that off. It's like no, you gotta like be like crazy about it. You know what I mean? You have to be like YG where it's like, oh, okay, all right.
The
Like I'm
one
not
other
saying,
thing I'll say about Stick as well is all the memes with dogs like with sticks in their mouths and everyone's
yeah,
like stick,
yeah,
stick, stick like that. That
yeah,
those hilarious memes.
yeah,
Um, let's talk about Clear My Rain with featuring Leon Bridges. That's a good song.
yeah,
I think that song might be one of the best examples of what this album is. Like it's really, really calm. It's really, really scenic. I think that Leon Bridges, for as short of a time that he spends on the album, or on this song, I think that he takes it to another level of scenic and calm. So if I like, I think if I wanted to tell someone, if someone needed to calm down or whatever, and I like just Gunna was the first thing that popped up, like when I like looked on Spotify, I probably would play that song first.
yeah. Yeah, I mean it's certainly good. I like Leon Bridges anyways, so like seeing him on here, I was definitely a little like, oh, okay, Leon Bridges is here, and then you get into it and it's like, all right, cool, like that, that worked well. Um, I'm looking through Gunna's, discography right now.
Mhm.
His last three album covers are great. Like I love
Yeah.
this cover. I think it's like really I think he seems to be putting more effort into the cover, or at least just like maybe it's, little effort, but he's just choosing better at this
Mhm.
point. But I think it's just like with the Leon Bridges feature, like you said, and then you have like, the Offset and Roddy Ricch features don't do a lot for me. Neither does, I guess the Normani one really doesn't, like the Leon Bridges to me is the best feature here, but it's just
Yeah.
like everything is just built in from the art to the music to the sound is like cool, right? And then like to me the last two songs are less about being cool and more about like, really like talking about like what's going on
Mhm.
for for Gunna right now, but man, like I just keep looking at the cover and I'm like this whole thing like he's just like so good at the like it's tough to be cool like that, man. Like, because we see a lot of people do it and it doesn't work. Like, we see a
Yeah.
lot of people like try to do like the slick thing, and it's like I don't know if that's like really, really you, but like his face totally being covered, but it's like yeah, it's just
It's gonna. I
yeah,
mean,
man, it works. It's one of
I'm
those things where it's just like it's gonna
I'm looking through them through his album covers too. I'd say Drip or Drown is probably a really good one, just because like Rocket Power, like that's a really good like people
yeah
like that show or that show when it was on. So I could see that one. Drip or Drown too. I remember the video of him taking the picture of that cover and like he's literally underground for this one. I mean not underground, underwater for Drip or Drown 2, the
yeah,
cover of that. So
it's
that's pretty cool
unreal.
as well. Like I think looking at it now, he's just always had pretty good covers. Like even Wanna, like I wasn't a fan of that album as much, but I like the cover for that. Not really.
Like
I mean, well,
Drip
yeah,
Harder is
Drip Harder is a
crazy.
good cover. That's a good cover as well. The Drip season 3 is calm. Drip season 2, I think there could be more out of that. The first Drip season, I mean, that's your first cover. So, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think
and
overall
that was a different time too. That was
yeah,
like,
he's had some
but
really good
man,
covers though.
these last three, I mean, I think it's crazy that this is where we are, but sometimes like Gunna feels so cool that it's like, yeah, that's what I want to talk about. It's like the cool part of it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like the DS4 cover is unbelievable.
it is. It is. But I still
Unreal. You
like out of the three, I like it, A Gift and a Curse the most though. Because that's the one where it's like
yeah.
that one is like it's obvious what's going to be talked about
Yes.
on that. Just by looking at it and like that's a big part of like selling music or like just like selling things as well, like selling
Yeah.
books as well. Like
You know
go
what I
ahead.
do miss here though?
What?
We don't have any and obviously not like us has a lot of people talking like this, but like
Mhm.
me, like every time I talk to you, whether it's on FaceTime or on here, I'm gonna get on and like say some like little thing that like one little line. We don't have that like one little standout thing here. Like there's no Kupiski on this,
Yeah.
right? Or there is no like fuck you mean,
Yeah.
right?
There's
Or I
nothing
mean my
catchy,
favorite from
really fully catchy at
I've
least.
said this so many times to you. Like even I've said this to you even when we're not talking about Gunna, and I'll
Mhm.
just be like, and I'm right back on Rodeo. Like I love that so much. Like I love those little things that like stick with me because that makes me want to go back to it. So man, and Gunna's really good at those, and so
Yeah,
I do miss that we didn't get anything here. Like QPC and I'm right back on Rodeo are so good from the last album,
one thousand
and it's
percent.
like you're right. He doesn't. There isn't like a viral thing here that would, because the last two albums we had Push and P,
Hmm.
and then Fuck You Mean both like were like way bigger than just the song, and so that's missing. Which whatever. It really doesn't matter that much, but it is like one of those things when I think of Gift and a Curse, I think of the album first, but then it's like all these little tiny like things that I get stuck in my head.
Basically like Easter eggs, kind of.
They are like Easter eggs. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So conscious. Um, that one, I think that's really the start of the reflective part of the album. Just going through them really quickly. On Conscious, he's talking about how he's able to keep himself balanced throughout all the nonsense as he describes it. On The Time, Gunna talks about finding his peace by cutting off fake friends and acting his age. The line about like I had to act my age is really that's really interesting to me, an interesting line that he put in there. On Let It Breathe, featuring Roddy Rich. First of all, Roddy Rich, he does add a soulfulness. Like he's always going to have
Yeah,
that lane of being the soulful hip hop artist in his bag. So whatever happens with his career going on from now on, like I still think that he'll be called on for features to deliver that type of vibe. And I think that helps elevate the song to the next level as well. But like having Gunna talk about like working out, having his needs met, also waiting on his moment, like not being worried about what he can't control is basically the vibe I got from that. So like really seeing like a more mature person out of Gunna on this album. And I think that starts
yeah,
with A Gift and a Curse, but here seeing it all like follow through and come into fruition here. On Today I Do Good, I think that's the most important track, at least when it comes to like the life updates from Gunna, because him talking about like him eating right and him like feeling healthy and stuff like that. I think that's very impressive. And I'm very happy to hear that, especially like 2 years ago, because especially since 2 years ago, he was in the hospital with kidney failure because he was drinking too much lean. So to hear like he's basically done a complete 180 from where his health was 2 years ago to now, I think that's really, really impressive. I think that's motivational for a lot of people out there.
yeah.
Maybe don't take those Ozempic and just do it or try to be like Gunna. Like I guess if you need to lose weight, try to be like Gunna and don't be Drake.
Well, the
For lack of a better term.
like jokes aside, the one of the biggest conversations that we've taken from Drake and Kendrick, right, is like you can either stay a real person and make authentic, music, or you can become the entertainer, you can become the star. And for a lot of people, you have to give up that the real person side of it, right? You have to give it up and you have to like whether it's cutting corners or taking other measures or whatever, like things change, right? And so like today I did good to me as a regular person. I love that song. Where it's like, I can like look at that and be like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like everyone can take these steps and it's not this crazy flex. It's kind of like, and it's not to the point where like Larry June is like, drink your juice and pay your taxes and like
Yeah.
take a walk. You know what I mean? And it's not like so emphasized on that. But to hear Gunna like from where he started off, and even a lot of the stuff that's still on this album, but like to get a song like that, I like that you said that it feels like the most important one because it's such like a simple message, but it is like that's the only way forward, man. Is to like take it day by day and really be like, yeah, like I did good today, I'll do good tomorrow, and you keep that going instead of being like, all right, I'll do good here and there or whatever. Like I didn't come into a Gunna album expecting to be like Gunna is helping with a blueprint to like sustainable health, but
Yeah.
I mean we're here, and
Yeah.
I love that song.
I love it as well. And finally, Time Reveals, Be Careful What You Wish For. It's really two tracks, but combined together. And I think that's a really good outro. It ends the album
Yeah,
on a sentimental note. And he's talking about how he's persevered from the trials and tribulations. I believe something along the lines of he didn't know what the type of heart like he's supposed to be finished, and he didn't know the type of heart that he had until now. Like sometimes you have to go through trials and tribulations for you to figure out who you really are as a person in terms of how strong you are,
yeah,
how perseverant, how easy it is for you to persevere through things and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I think that's really really important as well. Not as important as Today I Did Good, although you could argue between the two. But either way, I think I appreciate how he layers the album in a way where like there's themes. Like the
absolutely.
first theme is like classic Gunna, like I'm just rapping about like I'm just flexing on y'all. The second half is like
I
more
mean,
of like a
neck on a yacht.
um yeah. and then like the second part is like more of a like a I guess kind of like a I don't really know how to describe. Maybe like a little bit experimental. At least when you talk about dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign, and clear my rain, I'd say those two are the most
Yeah.
out of Gunna's wheelhouse that I expected or I would expect. And then lastly, the reflection and like I'm doing better. I'm trying to be better as a person. So I appreciate out of all the three, I definitely appreciate the last portion, but like the other two, not as much, but like the other two still have some type of value for me. So like overall, like once again, it's a pleasant listen. Is this a gift and a curse? No, but is it something that is still quality music, especially in 2024? I believe so. Do
Yeah.
you want to talk about playback value?
Absolutely. So for me, this is getting played.
Mm.
Like I think that a song like Today I Did Good will be something that like I always come back to. Like that's like an always song for me, especially as like, you and I actually get older and it's not, you know what I mean? Because it is like sometimes I like look at the and I'm like, oh man, these artists are growing, and I'm like, yeah, like so, you know what I mean? Like I do the same thing every single day. It's not that different, right? So like today I did good. We'll keep like today I did good. Time reveals. Be careful what you wish for. That's gonna keep like this in rotation for me for a long time, and especially today I did good. Like that song, it feels important. So for me, I don't have a like a definite time frame on it, but like it's getting carried by that for me because it is important
Yeah,
to the greater public, like objectively, I don't know if this necessarily has a ton of legs just because we have a lot going on in the space right now, and you don't have that one song on here or that one like clip that like can keep it going. So I'd say I give it a few weeks objectively, and then for me, like I'm gonna keep it in rotation though.
yeah. I was actually playing MLB The Show while listening to this before we got on and recorded. And it again like just like the overall pleasantness of the album. First of all, kept me locked in. I was hitting some home runs. I was striking some people out too. I'm basically Shohei Ohtani, but like on the New York Mets and MLB The Show. But anyway, like I was like doing like I was doing my thing. So that will probably keep this album in rotation for me. But then at the same time, like the reflective portion of it as well also helps. I'm not really sure what to say objectively or subjectively. I did put both at 2 weeks. Um just because like everything is in such turmoil right now. Kendrick can or Drake could drop a diss track tomorrow and we forget all about this. Which isn't Gunna's fault. It's just the magnitude of the moment in hip hop that we're living through right now. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this album ages. Final thoughts?
Yeah. So my final thoughts, and I started this with this, but it's really like Gunna has taken a sound that I think a lot of people were trying to use, right? For like that 2018, 2019 Atlanta, like Low Baby, kind of like part of Young Thug, like a lot of the YSL influence there. And Gunna has really run with it way farther than anyone else. And it's become his own. And it's so smooth. So like to me, this album could only be created by Gunna. Like no one else is like gonna make this album and make it feel the way that this album feels. And that's my final thought is like this is the perfect Gunna album in 2024. He dealt with a lot of stuff on Gift and a Curse. This is moving forward. This is him showcasing that he can still make, the hits. Not maybe not the hits, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
the songs that like, like the super like cool songs for lack of a better word. Like he can still do that, but it's also like moving forward and getting better as a person. So that's my final thought. It's like it's a perfect Gunna album. It's a perfect look at where he's at in 2024.
Top three?
My top three, my number one is from the first half. 101 is crazy. I do love
Yeah.
101. Um, Today I did good would be two for me, and then I really like Back in the A. I think that would have been a song we would have seen a feature on previously,
Yeah.
but obviously that's not gonna happen. So yeah, so we have 101. Today I did good. Back in the A in order.
All right. My last thoughts are with One of Wun gonna creates a pleasant listen that gives the listener an overall feeling, an overwhelming feeling of calm. And he does this while dropping some life gems in the process. The catchy hit attempts are expected from a Gunna album, but the tracks where Gunna reflects on the past few years carry the album. The top three tracks I have are number three, Conscious, number two, Today I Did Good, and number one, Time Reveals, Be Careful What You Wish For. All right. This has been the Cat Podcast, episode 506. Let us know what you think about One of Wun by Gunna in the comments below. Do us a favor, feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Follow Old Milk on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Old Milk Media. Check out oldmilk.co for more information. I am Nate Sperlin. That is Taylor McLeod. And we will see you when hip hop tells us to. We are out. Thank you for watching.